Our first session is Breaking Boundaries with a Single Multi-Methodology Platform, Delivering the Impact of COVID-19 Insights, presented by Panelbase and Decision Juice. And our first speaker is Sue Carter. Take it away, Sue.
Thanks, Joe. Hello, everyone. Good to see you. I'm Sue from oomph. We're a UK customer experience agency. So we're going to show you how in our video and in our panel, how in collaboration with our partners, we built and delivered this groundbreaking COVID-19 impact survey. So as I say, we'll start with a video in which I'll be explaining more about the research and how it came about, how we built it. I'll also talk about our unique COVID-19 impact indicator scale, which organisations are already using to transform their future and their planning. So after that video, I'll be talking to our expert panel about the implications from the project. The panel includes the team behind the survey, as well as a rep from a leading UK organisation who shared the survey with their customers. So first, let's get straight into the video. So I'm going to screen share this with you. So we will see you shortly after this.
Hello, and thanks for joining us. You are about to hear about a research initiative that uncovered unique insights into the impact of the coronavirus pandemic on more than 3,000 people across multiple sectors. The initiative utilises a tool that measures the impact of COVID-19 on the well-being and economic status of people and organisations, and measures how people feel they can be helped by specific sectors and organisations during these uncertain times. The project began in March 2020 as COVID-19 began to take hold in the UK and as it became clear that the economy would suffer. At this point, our team at oomph, we are an international customer experience agency based in South Wales. We saw an opportunity to gather research that would tell us about the impact of the pandemic so that we could begin our own transformation planning for the months ahead. This also formed part of our plan to create and support a COVID-19 Insight community. We're going to share how we made this happen. That is, how we were able to create the research survey, build it, get it in field, crunch the data, and present the analysis in a matter of just 5 weeks. And it's fair to say that it took a Herculean effort by the team, but we had great support from our collaboration partners, Decision Juice, Panelbase, Station 10, and Halo. To explain more, we're going to start by focusing on the major task of creating and building the survey. First, we carried out some early research with clients and in the wider market, and it became apparent that we needed to focus on 2 areas: the economic and well-being impacts of COVID-19. Customer insights experts recognise that if economic and well-being responses were brought together, then a strong picture would emerge for the overall situation in which people and the organisations that they interact with might find themselves. Having decided that our strategic focus would be these 2 areas, we turned to our proprietary research platform, Decision Juice, to build the survey. Why Decision Juice? Because its unique approach allows for qual feedback to be analysed and presented in quant form, while also handling large volumes of data. How does it do this? Decision Juice has an innovative sticky feature where respondents can click on the area of an image that represents them or their response, and then type qualitative reactions pinpointed on that image. In a nutshell, Decision Juice gives people the chance to be descriptive in their responses, while the technology collates and builds insightful data trends and patterns. Next, in order to use these innovative features and carry out our COVID-19 research, we needed to create a way of capturing respondent views on economic and well-being impacts. So the COVID-19 Impact Indicator Scale, or CVII, was created. This grid reflects 2 levels of detail. Firstly, macro categories. These are overarching situations that people might find themselves in, such as hopeful in hardship or in catastrophic change. Secondly, within each macro area, there are 4 categories of micro indicators that further illustrate the varying levels of response in each macro. For example, these include a difficult but fresh perspective within hopeful in hardship. Once our CVII scale was in place and the team had a clear understanding of the output they were aiming for, they next moved to the input required to get there. In order to gather responses for the scale, the team crafted a series of questions and requests that would prompt people to think about their own situation and that of the organisation sending them the survey. And to make sure that the output would be valuable not just for now, but for the future, the team included questions that covered 3 different timeframes: now, 3 months, and 6 months. The respondents were then able to indicate their thoughts on the CVII scale within the Decision Juice platform. You can see here how a person can click in a box on the grid and also add their own verbatim comments, producing both qualitative and quantitative data for analysis. Now, the CVII scale plays a huge role in this survey, but we dug even deeper. We created a series of questions relating to specific types of service that organisations could offer, again, drawn from our initial research and our experience. The survey asked respondents whether a certain service would help lessen the impact of COVID-19. These questions were also underpinned by demographic data collection and by asking participants how prepared they felt they were for the future. Finally, once these questions were nailed down, we made another enhancement, recognising the need to tailor the survey to different types of organisation. We created 2 formats, one for respondents representing organisations, B2B, and one for respondents as members of the public, B2C. We then wrote the survey carefully to ensure it had relevance for public sector, commercial, not-for-profit, and membership organisations. At this point, we now had a strong survey in place, which would both provide a range of organisations with their data and whose consolidated data would provide the potential for a community-wide analysis of the impact of COVID-19. So it was imperative to then get the survey in field as quickly as possible. To do this, our first port of call was our own client base, then contacts and associates. This quickly spread to organisations to whom we were introduced, the compelling theme being those looking for insight to support their COVID transformation planning. We eventually closed the survey initiative at a total of 35 surveys, giving us sufficient data for a robust sample. This was a great result, but it was also important to work closely at this point with our panel providing partner, Panelbase, who joined us as collaborators on the initiative, with a commitment to provide additional surveys of sector-specific data. Panelbase used extensive profiling of their 300,000 strong panel, matched with likely responsiveness to get the right surveys to the right people in 7 target sectors. We have worked with Panelbase for over 10 years, and they have proven their panel has the broadest mix of respondents and consistently provides higher levels of engagement than alternative panels. The results, based on response and engagement levels, were off the scale, including the notoriously difficult B2B audience. Respondents across all sectors clearly loved taking part in the project. This was evident in their commitment to completing the 10-minute survey and in the volumes of respondents who made the most of the interactive nature of Decision Juice. It was a genuinely mass qualitative project. With the surveys in field and an insight structure to work towards, it was next the job of our data science team to create an analysis platform that could produce consistent and comparable data across all 42 surveys. This had to be readable by non-research stakeholders in participating organisations and also provide additional data for specialists to deep dive into. We developed and tested these models whilst we had the data in field, just in time to be ready for the first survey's closing. We also worked with our data science partner, Station 10, who were able to support the data crunching of our own insight team with their extensive knowledge of detailed customer analysis. By applying a set of predetermined analysis scenarios to each organisation's data, the team was able to automate output workbooks, clearly presenting trends and impact over time, in line with the categories on the COVID impact indicator scale. For example, pie charts show respondents' varied assessments of how they think they will be impacted by the pandemic now, in 3 months and in 6 months, and for how people think a specific organisation will be impacted also in those timeframes. Another feature presents the results related to the services organisations could offer and their importance in lessening the impact of COVID-19 on the respondents, which of course are all factors in helping transformation planning. Once we had collected all the data for our 35 surveys and the panel-based participants, we now had more than 3,000 responses that we could consolidate to establish overarching insights across a range of sectors. This gave us all we needed to create our COVID-19 impact report. The full report will be available in the coming weeks, but in the interim, we have created a website to help people understand and navigate our findings. In this site, you'll find our 10 crucial insights from across the project. Then there will be specific learnings from 7 key sectors, and we'll present insights related to 3 categories of transformation planning, related to acquisition, retention and development strategies for service users, customers, supporters and members. We expect that you will hear more about the report in the media, as we are working with another partner, Halo, to distribute and secure coverage for our findings. So what next? For oomph and our collaboration partners, we have more to offer for the future of this project. For participating organisations, we are planning action seminars, which will give them the tools they need to understand their own data and help them create specific planning tasks and targets to guide their progress past COVID-19. We are also discussing, both with our clients and partners, how we can follow up with future waves of the survey to understand how the impact of the pandemic is changing over time. And finally, we want to develop and support that COVID Impact Insights community. This has been one of our objectives from the start and is becoming increasingly important now that transformation rather than recovery planning is emerging as the major focus for people and organisations. We are gathering interest for this now from active participants for Wave 2 and from listening members looking to review the results. We are keen to share this project with as many people as possible, so if you would like to join us and see a copy of the final report, please do get in touch. Thank you.
Welcome back and thank you everyone. We hope you enjoyed the video and that it really began to give you an idea of the scope and the sophistication of the project. We're going to move to the live panel now. We'll use this part of the session to discuss the implications of our survey for the research and the insight community. Now, if we had more time this morning, today, we would discuss the actual insights as well. But as you'll be able to dig through those yourselves on the report's website, we thought it would be more useful now to focus on the overarching messages, the wisdom, if you like, that we can draw out and share. So I'm joined on the panel by Stephen Priestnall, MD of oomph and founder of Decision Juice, David Ellis from Station 10, Paul Weallens from Panelbase, Adam Hopkinson from Halo Media, and Owen Hathway from Sport Wales, which is the national organisation responsible for developing and promoting sport in Wales. Now, as the audience, if you'd like to ask a question of our panel, please add it to your platform, to the chat area on the right hand side. If we can't get to the question in this session, we will get to it afterwards. We'll also provide some contact details at the end of the panel. So moving straight into the panel, I'm going to start with Stephen Priestnall. Stephen, you and oomph with Decision Juice, you started this off. So from your point of view, what are the main things? What are the main things we can do with the results and the data? What are they really telling us?
Thanks for the intro, Sue. There's two really high-level insights for me after what has been a really incredibly intensive journey. In fact, I must say right now, a huge thanks to the whole collaboration team, so everybody on the panel here today, and also to organisations such as Owen Sport Wales for participating. I mean, Owen especially will know that when I pitched this idea back in April, I talked about it being a feed into recovery planning for organisations. That seemed innovative back then, but there was no data being developed to help organisations plan their way through COVID. It was all about reactive actions. It was about furloughing, certainly in the UK, managing cash and logistics. But 3,200 plus respondents are telling us they're not looking for recovery. They're looking for transformation. So that was the first key insight. And secondly, another thought, other than major wars, we have all experienced the most intensive period of mass behaviour change in modern history. And those respondents were telling us that, and also telling us that at least a proportion of those change behaviours will embed in their lives getting used to COVID. And what they're looking for is for organisations to transform themselves and align with those change behaviours. Now, our coronavirus indicator impact scale, the CVII scale you mentioned in the video, has been massively instructive in separating out those in catastrophic change in the red and those in managing optimistic kind of in the green, seeing opportunity. And whilst the split isn't equal, we wouldn't expect that to be the case. It is much more balanced than we might have expected for people, perception of themselves. However, the same is not true for organisations.
Thank you, Stephen. Great summary there. I'm going to move to Owen Hathway from Sport Wales. Now, Owen, you sent the survey to your service users. So from your point of view, and thinking about what Stephen said, what were some of the key outcomes, particularly with regard to transformation, and how can you use what you found out?
Thanks, Sue. Yeah, so to me, there was sort of two key elements to it. Firstly, with this and any piece of evidence, when we're trying to understand our partners better, then obviously there's a range of different ways in which we'll go about that. We're not going to look at just one piece of evidence. And this was certainly a really insightful piece of work that corroborated a lot of our thinking and confirmed that we were on the right track in terms of the sort of services our partners wanted to support on digital technology, financial support, thought leadership. So it really helped us underpin some of the services we were trying to use and trying to impart onto our partners. The transformational side of things, that was the really interesting thing that came out of this actually, is that I think gut feeling was that we thought that as an organisation we were okay, but our partners were going to be in a state of catastrophic change as the indicator has actually labelled it. What was really interesting actually is that that was the case for the short term, but having that sort of 3-month, 6-month projection showed that actually they were optimistic about the opportunities that were coming out here. There was some real change that was catastrophic, but also led to a view of how can they build back differently, not just recover, as Stephen said, but actually they had a concern around where Sport Wales as an organisation was going to be in that time. And they thought we might be more impacted negatively than maybe we thought about ourselves. Now, initially that gave me a bit of alarm, but actually seeing the qualitative side of the feedback that goes alongside this, when we started unpicking that, the reasons and the rationale behind their thoughts started to come to the fore, and it was more about where the public sector was going, where public sector funding was going, how can we work with them over a short, medium and long-term period. So it didn't just showcase that there was an appetite for transformation, but as an organisation where we really needed to think about our messaging and our services, not just in response and reaction to COVID in the short term, but actually reimagining what the sports sector would look like, how sport would be delivered, and how we can add value as a partner. So it really did make us sit up and think in the first instance, and actually probably has helped us align better our strategic long-term aims, that we're not panicking and thinking about what we need to do in the short term, because our partners are actually saying, let's have a longer term discussion about this.
Thanks, Owen, and really interesting there that you're talking about some surprising things and knowing your customers better, and also that qual and quant approach. So I'm going to move to David Ellis from Station 10. So you were heavily involved in looking in the detail, David, and looking at both the qual and the quant data. You know, you really had your head under the bonnet, as it were. Like Owen, what made you sit up and take note? What struck you most about the project?
Well, I think, just to pick up on what Owen was saying, I think what I like about the approach in particular is it allows you to link quantitative and qualitative data, and that allows you to come up with insights and connections that would otherwise be either very difficult or practically impossible to achieve. And Owen's spoken eloquently about what that can mean. What I also like about it is it raises the possibility of joining other data sets to come up with even further sort of enriched insights that you can drill down in further on. Excuse me. And why I think this is important right now, as Stephen mentioned just a minute ago, is the ability to detect behavioural and attitudinal shifts is going to be key as we're all going through a period of rapid innovation. We're all having to innovate at speeds we possibly haven't realised just to survive, or even to thrive as well. And so what this allows you to do is do that on a really detailed basis to understand those trends and those insights. And what's also useful is it applies just as much to big things, as it were, like COVID, or to, I don't know, presidential election, or to Brexit, depending on where you might be, but also on much more local and nuanced trends and insights that can apply potentially to your particular scenario or individual business, and they can still provide actionable and valuable insights to drive that innovation I was just mentioning.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, David. I'm going to move that point on a bit, I think, with Paul Weallens from Panelbase. Now, Paul, your panel was critical for providing a data baseline here across a range of organisations. So we heard David there talk about linking that quantum qual feedback and about innovation. So how does this approach and this project change what you might recommend in the future?
Well, thanks, Sue. Well, firstly, I just want to say it's been an absolute privilege to be part of this collaboration of partners. When Stephen first approached us back in April, I wasn't sure on the idea, but now being part of the team and seeing the results, I realise the importance and relevance the exercise has produced, and how going forward can provide the real transformational insights on any major event in a fast, informed and decisive manner. I think we've all been overwhelmed by the ongoing crisis this year, and for our members having the chance to express their experiences, their behaviours, changes in their lives, in a way that Decision Juice has allowed, and its multi-methodology approach has resulted in the best engagement and responsiveness we've ever witnessed. Real people offering real experiences, offering real thoughts, and capturing in real time changes to attitudes and behaviours. I think it's also worth highlighting the post-feedback from members that had undertaken the research has produced one of the highest scores we've ever seen. 97.2% said they would be really want to be part of that same research going forward. How does this change our approach going forward? Well, I think we need to do more. There's never been a time in our lifetimes where people want to take part and be an active part of the story, to tell their story. And in this research approach created by our partnership has the results in harnessing that transformational insights that businesses desperately need. We need to do more.
Great, well, that's good to hear. Thank you, Paul. Thinking about spreading the word and getting it out to the community and doing more, I'm going to turn to Adam here, Adam Hopkinson from Halo Media. Adam, your job is to take this into the wider media community. Why do you think it might be of interest?
Thanks, Sue. Well, as Stephen mentioned, it is very rare that we witness an event that results in wholesale changes in human behaviour. The effects of COVID have been seen politically, socially, economically, culturally, technologically, and in just about any discipline that one can investigate. A change in any one of these would influence behaviour of consumers and of advertisers, but altogether, the impact it will create may have never been understood without an initiative like this study. It's interesting then to see how businesses and consumers are reacting and how they're seeing their place in the world now and in the near term and what can be done to improve this. We have seen the best of behaviours coming from this situation. We've seen that institutional processes can be changed extremely quickly. For example, banks providing relief to customers. We've seen that people congregate in supportive communities. For example, Facebook uniting towns to support the less than able to fend for themselves. We've seen businesses moving faster and making more cost and time effective decisions quicker. I mean, our own introduction to booking timescale has been massively accelerated. We're getting to the point faster, so I will too. I'm interested to see if these changes become ingrained. But what we can be fairly sure of is that media consumers will want more facts delivered from trustworthy sources. And if the industry can reset its standards, then the advertisers and the shopping economy will embrace the platforms. I'm particularly interested to see how this pans out and to model these new behaviours.
Yeah, great, and I think we all are. We're running out of time, only a few minutes left, so in the audience, if you do have a question, please do post it. I know there's been requests for the website address, so we will add that. Adam, I just want to come back on that last point then about seeing what happens next. I guess the next question for the panel is, what's the next step for this collaboration? David mentioned this sort of project could be useful for tracking other types of change, such as Brexit. What sort of appetite do you think there'll be for more?
Well, I think we'd like to invite people, participants in today's event, and indeed those who are part of the panel, to learn more about how this collaboration can positively impact your transformation and maybe help you be more prepared for a potential second wave.
Yeah, great. Owen, just a few seconds from you, if you would, on this. Can you see an appetite within Sport Wales for another way for gathering further knowledge?
Yeah, very possibly. I think the fact there's a 3 and 6 months projection built into this is really interesting. Do we go back and test, has those expectations been met, or has the realities of the fact that it's such a fast-paced changing situation at the moment meant that the diversion? So it's a really interesting one to use as a tracker, I think.
Lovely, thank you. Well, Stephen, there we go. The gauntlet is down. As founder of the project, what are your thoughts on next steps?
Well, so immediate next steps, we've got to complete the insight population on the CVI indicator website. That'll be made available to all the delegates through today. We've then got conversations going with participating organisations like Owen's about how they might be using the data. We've got a number of seminars coming up. Now, more long term, I want to work with the team here in building up a wider CVI Insight group, it was mentioned before, to support the publication of a final report and then build into the next wave, probably by the end of the year. I think Owen's timelines make perfect sense to look at that kind of 6-month period and see how it played out. It's pretty clear that we're going to have a COVID context to all of our lives, wherever part of the world we're in, for a period of months to years, not a period of weeks to months. So we want to continue to create a platform for transformation planning and apply that at public policy and commercial levels. We've already had interest in a Brexit impact indicator, and we're in discussions about a project associated with green transformation, looking particularly at transport and home living behaviour change. So I think there's quite a bit for us to get our teeth into soon.
Fantastic. Well, we'll watch this space, and unfortunately we're running out of time. So I'd like to thank everyone on the panel. Thank you for your answers, and of course, thank you to our audience for joining this virtual session today. What we'd like you to do next is to come and be part of this CVI Insight community. If you'd like to do that, and if you'd like to be involved more, please register for access to the CV Impact Indicator website, which we are showing on the platform. The address is impactindicator-cv19.com. That's impactindicator-cv19.com. You can also visit Panelbase, as they are an exhibitor during this conference, so you'll find them in the exhibitor hall if you'd like to find out more. Or you can contact Stephen for specific details on the how and the what and the when via our email address, and that is 2020impact oomphagency.com. So 2020, the numbers, 2020 impact at oomphagency.com. So that concludes our session today. Thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your conference.